Hundreds of campaigners from Warwickshire are expected to take part in an anti-HS2 protest outside Parliament this morning. The government is due to present its hybrid bill on the high-speed rail line, a piece of legislation which will detail how it would be built. In fact, in great detail, it's going to sort of set out how it's going to be built. It's the next step in a long process for the multi-million-pound project linking Birmingham and London initially. BBC commentary in Warwickshire's Alec Blackman is at Burton Green for us this morning. Alec.
Yes, morning Shane. I'm in the car park of the Burton Green Village Hall. It's a grey and cold morning here, just outside, well, it's between Kenilworth and Coventry really, and the car park here is starting to fill up with people who are waiting to get on the coach that'll take them down to Westminster for today's protest. And I've got three of the people who'll be on that coach with me this morning. Richard Kenyon, who's from the Kenilworth Action Group, Archie Muir, who's from Stoneleigh, and Margaret Garside, who's from Coventry. We'll come to Margaret in just a second, but Richard, starting with you. What's so wrong about this? Why this draft bill is going to Parliament today? You'll have a say when the committee stages start, so what's wrong with that?
Well, everything's wrong with it. The project itself doesn't stand up. The bill is going before Parliament. I'm told there are 55,000 pages. For 3 years we've been talking to HS2, asking about what about this, what about that. They've given us very few answers, a very small percentage, and yet they claim on this booklet that it's going down to the last inch of everything that's going to happen. How can that be right?
But we know that the West Coast Main Line is nearing its capacity. Surely this has to be built. It's good for the country.
If that were true, that it was nearing capacity, perhaps that might be right, but it's not. The government said it is, and they claimed that they couldn't release the figures of the actual capacity because it was commercially sensitive, until suddenly it was discovered they'd released them 5 years ago when it didn't embarrass them, and they had to release them, and that showed that it is nowhere near capacity at the moment. There are one or two small bottlenecks, and that's all.
Okay, Archie Muir, you're from the Stoneleigh area. I mean, what's so wrong about this in your point of view? Because surely this is going to create jobs, it's going to bring lots of employment to areas along the line where it's being built.
I think it's a piece of madness. I think it will, far from creating jobs here or anywhere else, it will suck them into London. And in terms of a need for it, I think there's no demonstrated need whatsoever.
So your argument is this is not a NIMBY issue then, but surely it is, because, you know, villages, pretty villages along the line are going to be affected.
Well, of course they are, but it's not an NIMBY issue, because everywhere you take it, people begin to realise it's a mad idea. Once they start to find out anything about it, they know it's a crazy idea. So by the time they get to the north of England, increasingly they think exactly the same thing as they think in the south of England.
Okay, let's come to you, Margaret, because you're not from here. You're from Allesley in Coventry. So why do you think this is you need to go down to London today?
Because I think they ought to know how much people will be affected by this, and there's an awful lot of money being spent, and it could be spent in other areas. Very good train service at the moment from Coventry to London, an excellent service. Why are they making that just a few minutes more, rather than looking at trains across country? All the train services, there's a service from Bournemouth to London, which isn't a very good service. There's loads of services, railway services, that they could improve, and lots of other things. It's actually a travesty that they're actually doing this, and they ought to know that. That's why I'm going down there.
Okay, 55,000-page document laid before the House of Parliament today. Patrick McLaughlin in committee tomorrow. Guys, before you head off, are you still confident that, bearing in mind the people who've turned up here, we've got about 20 people who've turned up in the car park so far. Coach sets off at around 5 to 8. Are you confident that you've still got enough ammunition in your locker to stop this?
Absolutely. We have more than enough ammunition. The only question is what is the real reason the politicians are trying to do it? Until they tell us that, it's very hard to hold any communication with them. They just don't listen.
And Archie, final word to you. Can you stop it?
Yeah, this is a bad policy, and bad policies fail eventually. It's just how much time and energy we waste and how much money the government spends before they realise this is a stupid policy and step away from it.
Okay, Archie Muir, Richard Kenyon and Margaret Carr. So thanks very much for your time. Well, there you go, Shane. That's the feeling here in Burton Green as we wait for the coach to turn up, and then this party will head down to London and join hundreds of others from across the country who are taking part in this protest before the bill is laid before Parliament later today.
Alec, thanks for that. BBC Commentary and Watchers, Alec Blackman live in Burton Green.